We all know what it's like to feel stuck, trapped in a seemingly impossible cycle. But what if I told you there are 4 mental knots holding us captive, and that by identifying them, you could free yourself? Attachment, aversion, ignorance, and doubt. These knots shape our perception and our way of life. But there are no inaccessible secrets. The path to liberation is before our eyes, and it bears witness to a power each of us possesses. Imagine feeling light, as if a heavy stone were finally sliding off your shoulders. This is possible, and today we'll explore how. Together, we'll explore the dimensions of each mental knot, discovering how they form, and more importantly, how we can free ourselves from them. Let's start with the first knot, attachment. Attachment is like a taut rope that ties us to people, experiences, or objects. It may seem trivial, but it's crucial to recognize its power. It forms when we begin to identify our happiness with something external to ourselves, like a job, a relationship, or a possession. We delude ourselves into thinking that our identity is defined by what we're attached to, but this is a trap. Imagine investing every emotion in a relationship, only to discover in a moment of crisis how little control you have over your circumstances. It's painful, but it's a valuable lesson. One way to free ourselves from attachment is to practice mindful observation. We begin to notice when we become attached, specifically when we feel the urge to possess, to control. This doesn't mean giving up love or connection. It means understanding that true happiness comes from within. During meditation, observe your thoughts and recognize how dreams can create a prison. With time, you can begin to release those bonds and welcome a more authentic and free love. Now let's move on to the second knot, aversion. Have you ever felt frustrated or irritated by someone? Aversion is a natural response, but it becomes toxic when it takes root in our minds. It forms when we experience discomfort or pain from an experience or thought and try to avoid it at all costs. It's like walking through a minefield. Our gaze is fixed only on what we fear, and this limits us. Aversion makes us live in a constant state of tension and resistance. This internal pressure only fuels the fire of our discomfort. But there are ways to deal with aversion. Loving kindness, meditation for example, teaches us to welcome rather than push away. It's an act of courage to open ourselves to what displeases us. Imagine breathing into the uncomfortable spaces, accepting those aspects rather than fighting them. By creating space for understanding, we can transform our aversion into compassion. We begin to see the humanity in what we previously rejected. This allows us to free ourselves from the heaviness of our emotions. Now let's analyze the third knot, ignorance. This isn't just a simple lack of knowledge. It's a profound ignorance, a disconnection from reality. It stems from our inability to see things as they are. Take, for example, the frustration we feel when things don't go as expected. This often stems from ignorance of the very reality of circumstances. We cling to ideas and beliefs without ever questioning our worldview. To combat ignorance, we can embrace the practice of mindfulness. Asking ourselves, what am I really thinking, is a great place to start. We begin to see our lives through a broader lens, recognizing our biases and adopting an open stance. When we learn to observe without judgment, we can uncover new aspects of our reality. This helps us free ourselves from ignorance and live a more authentic life. Finally, let's talk about doubt. Doubt is a silent villain that creeps into our minds when we least expect it. It arises when we question our abilities, our decisions, our desires. This knot paralyzes us, turning opportunities into obstacles. We convince ourselves that standing still is safer than risking failure. Imagine wanting to start a new project, but that purpose is undermined by doubt. Being at the mercy of this knot prevents us from realizing our potential. An effective practice for overcoming doubt is introspection. Come face to face with your fears and thoughts. Writing down your anxieties can be liberating. We often realize that doubt is based on flawed assumptions. Keep a journal where you record your successes and progress. This will reawaken your confidence. Acknowledge your strengths and practice self-compassion. When doubt arises, respond with calm determination. Remember that these 4 mental knots are part of our human experience. We shouldn't judge ourselves for having them. Rather, we can simply acknowledge them. The key is awareness. Through meditation and observation, we can learn to untangle them. Meditative practices can offer us the opportunity to look within ourselves without any expectations. It is then that we can truly embrace our humanity with all its complexities. Imagine being part of a community that embraces this transformation. When we face these challenges, we are no longer alone. We are together, we support each other. Every step toward liberation is a step toward a fuller, more authentic life. Remember, whenever you feel stuck, you have the keys to free yourself from these invisible chains. Open your heart and mind. Observe your thoughts and emotions. True freedom comes from awareness. It's never too late to begin this journey. Start today. Dedicate a few minutes to meditation and introspection, and nourish this journey with compassion. Eventually, you will discover that the knots that once held you captive can instead become the very experiences that set you free. Be patient with yourself on this journey.